The choice that Goku made to give Moro a Senzu Bean and let him live in Dragon Ball Super Manga Chapter 65 has been incredibly and heavily criticized by the Dragon Ball fandom all over the world. But the truth is that Goku has always made some questionable decisions, and even though things may have worked out in the end, there was still a gradual and sometimes high risk of catastrophic failure. So on this video, let's look back at Goku's worst decisions, his most naive choices, and some of which are just plain out, flat out dumb. I will always love Goku as a character, but man, he's gotta really think about things sometimes. So let's look back at Goku's biggest mistakes throughout the history of the series. Now, before we go into the actual history of Goku's bad mistakes, I want to say that some of these mistakes were indeed dumb and questionable, but also remember that at times they ended up working out for Goku in the future. Sometimes you never know what's going to happen in life, but we have to do our best to make the best decisions possible, and even though we're not perfect and neither is Goku, still, when you take risks like this, they don't always work out, especially when you've got plot shielding protecting Goku and protecting the outcome of the story on most occasions. When you think about it, Goku's questionable decision making really began after he became an adult. You know, even in the early years of his adulthood. For example, when he spared Piccolo at the 23rd Tenkaichi Budokai, even though at the end of the day, it may have been seen as a foolish move because Piccolo was the son of the Demon King Piccolo, who at one time ruled the earth and threatened to destroy everything, it still worked out because had Piccolo been dead, there would be no Dragon Balls because Kami would have died and nobody would have been able to stop Raditz when he showed up and Gohan would never have been trained. So that one is one that can be seen as being dumb, but it worked out. Same thing with sparing Vegeta. Now don't let the filthy lies of the English dub fool you. Goku never spared Vegeta because he thought he was a good guy. Goku himself states in the original manga and in the Japanese version that he spared Vegeta for purely selfish reasons. He even admits this to Kuririn and to everybody else, that he wants Vegeta to stay alive because he wants to fight him again. At the end of the day, it was really foolish because nobody had ever given them as much trouble as Vegeta had given them, but at the same time, Vegeta wound up being very useful in the Frieza saga, and Vegeta wound up dying anyways in that arc, but Vegeta's battles against Dodoria, Zarbon, and the Ginyu Force in many ways kept Gohan and everybody else alive when you think about it. Had Vegeta not been on Namek to take out Dodoria and Zarbon, there's a chance that they would have eventually caught up to Gohan and not only taken him out, but also Dende, who both were very useful. So Vegeta being the anti-hero in the Frieza saga wound up being a good thing, and it's all because of Goku's, on the surface, foolish mistake, but Goku, again, had no idea it would turn out that way. So it's still a dumb decision, but again, one that worked out. Now, speaking of the Frieza saga, there's a few in the Frieza saga involving Frieza himself that I think should be brought up. For example, when Goku allowed Frieza to go to 100% power. This is classic Son Goku. He wants to see his opponents at max power. He wants to test himself against the very best. I don't begrudge him for that. However, the risk of doing this with villains, which he's done numerous times since then, is always a very big gamble because we're dealing with Frieza, who is pretty irredeemable, and it wouldn't be the last time that Frieza would get a break from Goku. And don't even forget the fact that Goku went so far and had so much mercy as to give Frieza energy at the end of their fight, which Frieza used to try to kill Goku and wound up looking stupid. But nonetheless, even though Goku was way stronger than Frieza, and he was confident in himself, it was still a risk to do what he did. Sometimes unreasonable risk can yield some pretty great rewards, but the risk is still unreasonable. And even though the narrative among a lot of Dragon Ball fans is that Goku is a selfish person, I disagree. Goku has had selfish moments, without question, which we're going to cover here on this video for certain, but he's not always a selfish person, but he does tend to think about himself only. For example, when in the fight with Frieza, he warps everybody off the planet, which is a smart move to protect everybody else back to Earth and whatnot, but it's all because he wants to finish that grudge match against Frieza that could end up costing him his own life. But it's just Goku being Goku, and honestly, I like it because it is a very heroic thing to do. Spare the innocent and let me take the brunt of this battle. I mean, I feel like Goku giving Frieza energy is a great moment because the way that Goku takes Frieza out is really, really epic when he, turns around and calls him stupid and just blasts him, calls him a fool, an idiot, whatever translation you want to use, it's all the same thing. And he gives Frieza so many breaks, man. We're not even done with that. We'll get back to Frieza later on. When we get to the Cell Saga, this is the saga that's commonly referred to by many fans as the Saga of Stupidity. Because both Goku and Vegeta make really, really dumb mistakes in this arc. As much as I love the Cell Saga, and it has some incredible moments, and we love Gohan, and it kind of has some great new characters like the artificial humans and Trunks, Goku just does dumb things. For example, being aware that you have this scientist who's creating these killer machines that have taken everybody out in the future and not even going to him and having him at least arrested, it's a dumb move and an unreasonable risk considering how dangerous the situation was. Now again, we know that Goku and Vegeta have the blood of the warrior race and we know they want to fight opponents and get stronger. That we know and we all love it. But it's one of those things where from a logical perspective, it makes no sense. You have a time traveler telling you that this is going to be a major problem, and it actually wound up being a bigger problem and more of a headache than they even thought because of what happened with Cell and the fact that had they prevented the artificial humans from even being finished, we would never have had perfect Cell. So, I mean, it's something that makes you think. I did a whole video about causality and causation in the past and how there's always a cause and effect in Dragon Ball. And there's tons of that here in the series, especially in the Cell Saga and, again, in the Buu Saga. Don't forget, of course, the infamous time when Goku gave Cell a Senzu. He had actually given Piccolo a Senzu in the earlier arc, the 23rd tournament in Dragon Ball, but this is the one that fans have pointed back to with the Moro arc saying, why would Goku do that? Knowing that Cell was so dangerous, but he had a lot of confidence in his son. I think Gohan was the one that really flubbed up more than Goku here, but it is a decision that, again, Goku at least repents for it, but it is one that I feel is bad. And the fact that Goku repented for it is the primary reason as to why Goku making these choices in the future were so annoying, because Goku apparently learned his lesson here, but did he really? I guess not. When we get to the Buu arc, we have Goku and Vegeta both making selfish decisions that lead to catastrophic events. For example, Vegeta becoming a Majin to equal out his power with Goku and to be able to fight him at his max, to me is, as we all know, very selfish and very foolish, because he's putting everybody at risk, including his own wife and kid. Goku had to fight Vegeta, but at the same time, Goku was told by the Supreme Kai, by Kaioshin, that if these guys fight, that they're going to have enough energy output to resurrect Majin Buu, who has been teased for several chapters as being the most dangerous threat to the Earth, and they still do it, and they wind up hatching Majin Buu, who ends up being a problem for the entirety of the arc. Now again, these things need to happen to further the plot along, but it is still a boneheaded move. To me, these moments in Dragon Ball Z I don't think are that foolish when you really break it down, but the fact that they continue on into Super, that's when things get a bit annoying. Now, when we get to later on in the arc, we find out that Goku reveals that he could have defeated Fat Buu anytime he wanted to, but wanted Goten and Trunks to be the heroes because he didn't want to be the hero again. He didn't want to bail them out again. Now, again, I have done videos where I question Goku's statement on this because I feel like Goku may not have actually been able to finish off Buu because of the limitations of SS3 and the fact that Buu has an incredible amount of stamina and is very hard to kill. But that's a debate for a different day that we won't get into here. It was still a foolish move because if Goku thought he could take out Buu, he might as well do it because him and Babidi were rampaging all over the earth. They were just killing people left and right. Take the guy out, finish it. But later in the Buu arc, when they do Vegito, I've always wondered, why didn't Vegito just kill Buu and then they get the Dragon Balls and they wish everybody back? I mean, they were going to do it anyways, right? So why go through the hassle of getting absorbed purposely to go into Majin Buu to free Goten, Trunks, Gohan, Piccolo, and the rest of them when you could have just killed Buu at any point, because Vegito could have done that, and just used the balls to wish them back? It would have been so much easier. And then after that, we have the infamous moment where Goku and Vegeta choose not to fuse again. We have Kid Buu, pure Buu, out on a rampage. Goku and Vegeta think they could take him on. They feel they could take him on, but they aren't sure, really. They're kind of overconfident. And they also wanted it to be a fair fight because it's Buu not absorbing anybody. It's Buu in his purest form and Goku and Vegeta not being combined. However, it's still foolish because of how dangerous Buu is and how on several occasions Goku and Vegeta were told about Majin Buu and just how vicious, especially this version of Buu was, that's pure evil. Vegeta felt the power of Buu himself, and they chose to go in there and fight him anyways. That one, a lot of fans have criticized throughout the years, and I can't blame them. And even though I personally love the Goku versus True Buu or Kid Buu fight, it's still, when logically thinking about it, kind of a risk. A huge risk, I would say. I do want to make a point that Goku is, I think, a pure-hearted guy and is morally good, but he's very naive and at times selfish. But I think a lot of us can be this way in life. It's just that when we're dealing with intergalactic evildoers that can risk harming millions upon billions of lives, you kind of got to think a little bit more. And you have to figure out ways to prevent the damage instead of just allowing the damage to happen and then fixing it later. That's always been my perspective. But then again, if they did that, would we really have Dragon Ball? Something to think about right there. Now, as we move into Dragon Ball Super, or at least the Dragon Ball Renaissance, which began with Dragon Ball Z Battle of Gods, we have more unusual decisions made by Goku. For example, in Resurrection F specifically, Goku took way too long in finishing off Frieza quick enough and wound up getting blasted through the chest and incapacitated. But then Vegeta makes the same mistake, and Vegeta's mistake causes the Earth to get blown up. And had it not been for Whis and his time reversal abilities, they would have been screwed. They would have had to have gone to Namek or figured something out to bring Earth back. Just would have been a nightmare. And these guys have to pull the trigger. And the problem with the Moro arc is that they were in a very similar situation with Moro, and they still spared him. And you could even make the argument that Moro is just as evil as Frieza, maybe even more because of his million-year feud, more than that probably, millions-year feud with the Supreme Kais. Now, one of the more controversial ones that gets brought up a lot was Goku and the Universal Survival Arc, the Tournament of Power. And a lot of fans seem to think that Goku is the one who endangered the multiverse. And even though he was partially responsible for that because he was the one that encouraged Zeno to do the Tournament of Power, it's revealed that Zeno was going to destroy the universes anyways. Now, whether or not he really was going to do that, that remains to be seen, because at the end of the arc, it's almost implied that Zeno was really not going to do that, or that he had second thoughts. But this is one that Dragon Ball fans don't seem to analyze as much as they should, because you have to remember that, yes, Goku did want to do that multiversal tournament, but he never once said he wanted the universe to get blown up if they lose. That wasn't part of the plan. He just wanted to fight strong guys. It was Zeno that ultimately had been the one to make that choice and to make it a thing, not Goku. So can we really blame Goku for that? Maybe partially, but I still don't believe it's one where he should be chastised for it, because when you think about it, Goku kind of gave them a fighting chance. So always remember there's two sides to every story here, and when it comes to this portion of the arc, it's a bit deeper than just saying it's all Goku's fault, because the Omni King's desire to get rid of the low mortal ranking universes was his choice, not Goku's. But again, it all worked out. And really, it worked out because of 17's wish. Because if you remember, Zeno stated that had the winner of the tournament not made the correct wish, which would be the most selfless wish, and that is to bring everybody back to life, he said he would have wiped everybody away anyways. So to me, Zeno's kind of the brat here more than Goku when you think about it. Now, some would say that bringing Frieza back to help Universe 7 was a big risk, and it was, because all of Goku's friends really came down on him for making that decision or that suggestion. But at the end of the day, Frieza did wind up being useful for Universe 7 during that arc. However, when we go to Dragon Ball Super Broly, Frieza's true colors came back once again, because Frieza is once again manipulating people to use them for revenge on Goku and Vegeta still. Even though he's way past this, you would think he is. Frieza's still not over his beef with Goku and Vegeta. But then that begs the question, Frieza brings Broly to Earth, puts the entire planet, if not the universe, at risk of complete explosion from the power of Broly and the danger of Broly's uncontrolled rage. Why did Gogeta not finish him off at the end of the movie? He's grabbing him by the wrist to prevent him from blowing up, his minions who had kind of turned on him. Why did Gogeta just let him go? I don't understand that. I don't get the reasoning behind that when we now know that he was the one manipulating Broly and Paragus the entire time. There was no reason for Gogeta to spare Frieza in that moment because he proved that things aren't going to be peaceful. And even earlier in the film, Vegeta scolds Goku for bringing Frieza back. And Vegeta even reveals that he's training to prevent and protect the Earth from a possible Frieza attack. So it happens, he's proven right, Vegeta is half of Gogeta. Why didn't Gogeta just finish Frieza off and rid the galaxy of him again? It's a weird, weird choice. Moving on to the Moro arc, well, I don't have to cover it because I've already covered it in other videos. After decisively defeating Moro with the completed version of Migate no Gokui, the Ultra Instinct completed version, Goku not only spares Moro, which in itself is a bit naive, but then crosses into dumb territory by giving him a Senzu Bean, which to me was totally unnecessary. The guy was already beat up. Put him in jail if you want, take him out if you want, after getting permission from Jocko, after Mira sacrificed himself, and because of that decision, because Goku's trying to sit down and talk to this guy who's been a criminal for millions of years, he's just now possibly caused the problem where he's putting the universe, at least the galaxy, according to Whis, at risk because Moro has now fused with the planet. So to me, again, Goku should be better than this now. He's an adult. He's been trained by everybody. He's been taught everything he knows from several different people. He has been down this road before. Why is he making that choice again? You could say that he's overconfident, but he's been overconfident before and it wound up costing him. There has to come a point where you have a bit of humility here. I wonder where things are going to go in the future. I wonder how many more bad choices Goku will make before he smartens up. I hope that this time he actually learned from it. But as you can see from this video, maybe he hasn't, because the dude's lived a pretty long life. He should know better by now. I want to thank Cypher, the translator, for helping do some research on this video that I was going to do anyways, but he made it so much easier for me to find the manga panels and to go back and kind of reanalyze all of this and remember all of this. Are there any mistakes you think I missed? Let me know. I thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, check out these as well.